Hello, everyone. We are back, and accompanying me this time is Black Knight. How are you doing?
Ah, I'm fine. We're just dealing with the weather today. I was melting.
Ooh.
Yeah,
So, which do you
and
prefer? Sorry, which do you prefer, cold or warm weather?
mm, probably warm weather.
I prefer cold.
Mm, though, if we're talking about cold weather, I would rather have a rainy, chilly autumn than the winter itself.
Okay, I'm the opposite. I love winter. It's one of the things that I'm gonna be honest. I'm really gonna miss about Northern Ontario and Northern Quebec because um, when I go abroad, it's always something that I find, it takes some getting used to, and I like my white Christmases.
Mm,
And if it's not pure white and snowy, I get well, it annoys and depresses me.
yeah.
Um, but it's what I know. Like, um, but then again, I always laugh because even Americans in the northern states complain, "Oh, it's so cold at like -5 or something." Please, I'm used to -30 to 40.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
anyways, um, we are
hmm.
gathered here today to discuss also real quick because I did want to get your thoughts on one funny article I typed up.
Okay.
Um, Here we are. Um, the Why did the novel reading man disappear? I don't know if you've read this article of mine.
Uh, I think I did.
Okay, these ones tend to blur together. I will admit they're not my best work. They're actually kind of crap, but um, they're
Hey,
what?
no, it's not. It's not kind of crap.
Well, I think it's crap because this is basically a dish rag type of post. There's a reason why I often cross post these with Alliance authors. Um, but apparently, Old Pub is complaining that novel reading men have disappeared, and
Uh-huh. After
I'm
after they've made every effort to make him disappear.
yeah,
Oh, that's weird.
I
Imagine
love how
why.
I love how you put that. It's like after they put in all this effort to make him disappear, they're now going to complain. Where'd he go? Where did all of our revenue streams go?
Wait,
Oh,
wait. We hate you. We want to disappear, but please keep buying our schlop, please. Yes, yes, keep buying the schlop, but we also want you go.
yeah, it's like, which is it? You know, the worst part about dealing with the administration, like any kind of administration, and also with trying to get one's visa, is that um, all those you're dealing with are women. And they, no offense or every offense in some ways to the female sex, but they can be more practical and pragmatic than men sometimes, but they're not about a lot of things. Men like to get things done. Women like to make a show of getting something done and not get anything done in a lot of cases. And the trouble is, this is especially true for, I find, Gen Y women outside of Japan. Uh, the only reason I'll say outside of Japan is because I've met quite a few Gen Y women from there. They're not like that. But in Canada and France and the Anglosphere, it's a daycare job. And publishing industry is a daycare job. It's not a real job at this point because they're not doing anything of any merit. And the
Mm,
problem is that
when you mentioned like excuse for the interruption,
Mhm.
But when you mentioned daycare, I remember a chat that I had with a boss of one of the companies my previous company worked with
Mhm.
some years ago, and he was he was not happy because their version of the HR department had hired 29 secretaries,
Oh my gosh.
and they actually needed two secretaries. And it was, as you said, daycare. They overinflated their budget. They demanded extra amenities. They demanded free food. They demanded free coffee, teas, juice, everything. And in the end, they basically they were doing nothing. They were just sitting there and eating free food.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. Because like I like the job agency I'm with to an extent that have secured me my employment, but I'm dealing with about let me see. There's one lady. There's three. About four different secretaries is what I'm
Uh-huh.
having to communicate with, and of course I'm at the back of the line because they have to make sure the Indians are at the front of the line and have all their concerns and problems dealt with. So they get their hands held when dealing with the administration and paperwork and website. I don't. So I'm usually a week behind to a month behind on, when they finally get to me. So the problem with that is I only have 3 weeks left to get my visa, like everything in order. So you can see the problem. They're really not quick to deal with a lot of the problem. Now, admittedly,
They
I
don't
was
care.
slow a little because my email put their email in the spam section or something. But the thing is, when I finally got to it and responded, it took them a few days, and then and now they've basically complained about a minor non-issue. That's just a little like I clicked. There's like 4 or 5 different sections. You're supposed to click French, one which you're supposed to click English. I clicked French on all of them, assuming you have to. And at some point, I was supposed to click on one of them and say English. And the problem is now they're dragging their feet by a week to deal
Mm.
with the computer technical IT problem, and respond to me about it. So yeah, this sort of administrative blunder. Now, I'm not actually going to defend men and say men are the sort of man who works in administration is not usually someone who's well, there's the term low T for a reason. The trouble is with this sort of man is he's not much better in administration. And I know because I've had to deal with administration in a finance department once at a university to sort some mistakes out. And on 2 occasions, he started crying. Of course, he couldn't contact his own parents. So he contacted, of all people, my own mother to come in and hold his hand through it because I was
Eh?
being mean. It was so weird. Even she was like, what the hell? Because she was friends with him and because she used to work with him. And I was like, what the hell is this? Even she was like, what the hell is this? But it's funny because my mother's worked in administration almost her entire adult career, like her adult working life. She's very competent. Like she's like, let's just get stuff done. But most of her coworkers say no. And a lot of her former coworkers will call her up because they're crying and she's like, I'm on the job right now, right? I can't be holding your hand through this while you cry. And you're a grown man with a beard and with a kid. Like, what are you doing? So this is a sort of problem that you get a lot of this in bureaucracies like this. And this is not the Roman bureaucracy, which was such a beautiful thing to behold. And the thing with these publishing industries is they've pushed out men because this is always what administration does towards the end of its shelf life. And let's be honest, this is towards the end of its shelf life. And
I think it's already over its shelf life.
well, not quite yet because it's still standing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you shoot something really really tall in low gravity, it will take some time before it crumbles to the ground.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Now, the novel reading man, um, that's because I'll actually say something else. It's not just a novel reading man who's been pushed out, because I'm noticing a large contingent of women in both our readership base on Substack, Black Knight, because you've got Nova Heart, you've got Corey Bren, you've got a few of them, and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
I've got
noticing.
Tatiana, I've got Nikki, and a whole lot of them, like Lilliput, War Officer Grant, and
Yeah,
they are from like different generations.
but
But yeah, that's
I'm just saying I'm noticing um, that it's like we've both got a large male readership, but also a vast female one. Because whenever I like, how do I put it? Your Lord of Bones and Star Shadow are popular with. I'm noticing a lot of female responses. Um, Star Shatter a lot more male though, but
Mhm.
Lord of Bones a lot of female. While on my end, when I publish, let's say the Golgarathia, I get a boatload of guys because it's basically orcs versus men and elves. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like I got a ton of guys just going, "Oh yeah, we want blood, we want tragedy, we want like this Tolkienian epic of orcs just bashing men's skulls in and men slashing apart orcs." But then when I write about, let's say, Fiolanville, or even when I published Gemstone, or the almost cozy fantasy right now, but it's getting into the adventure part, Artweir novel, The Sword of the Western Sea, um, I get more female responses. And even Gemstone, I've been getting a few female responses. But one of the women is a Red Sonja fan, so I think she's more a peculiarity in some ways. I'll be doing a live later on Substack just for that. But the thing is, I think that this is something which uh, one can see it's not just the novel reading man that's been pushed out, but the novel reading woman that's been pushed out. On the other hand, the novel reading man, the vast majority of novel readers are men. For some odd reason, we just are. And it's not sexist to say it, it just is. At least with the genres that matter. And the genres that matter are fantasy, science fiction, horror, and whatnot. And although, let's be honest, horror has always been a bit of a 50-50 genre for some reason. Women, well, actually, not for some reason. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and Bram Stoker's Dracula are very popular with women. Let's be completely honest. And traditionally, it's not because women wanted to be violated by Dracula. It's because you have heroic, manly men gathering together, swearing an oath of knighthood, and going off to fight a dragon / vampire. Women love that stuff, and because it's men being men. And my point is, horror might be 50-50. Sci-fi is probably like 70 to 80-20. Like it's 80% men or something. Fantasy, it's pretty much the same thing as sci-fi. Maybe if we're pushing it 70-30. But the thing is, you make these novels go poof, you are losing your entire revenue. You have no right to complain after you lose it. Like, I honestly have no idea what they're thinking because
they place themselves in this situation. It's like
yeah,
it's like an Olympic runner who grabs the gun of the referee,
mm-hmm.
loads it with real ammo, blasts both of his kneecaps, and then rolls on the stadium's ground and weeps, "Help! Help! I can't run."
That sounds oddly specific. You talking from experience? I'm joking. I'm joking.
Well, no, but
No, it's something that could happen.
yeah,
And I know some people, I know some guys in real life I used to work with would be like, that would never happen. With how stupid the world has become, I'm actually going to disagree and say, yeah, I could. It's the most realistic thing that could ever happen. And because, like, come on, India exists. There are people that stupid. But yeah, like, just this entire industry mess, it's just like, what are you doing? You're complaining about we pushed away our readership. Isn't this what you wanted to do? But anyways, yeah, they're
they want to have all the like their entire sack of money, but spending it too.
yeah. Now they did this by telling people that their stories are problematic, and people moved away because every franchise got gutted and became half-baked lectures. Every male character has been neutered, humiliated, or erased, and publishing execs basically attacked readers' tastes. Why would anyone stay? Like, it's a real mystery, and I really like this Sherlock picture.
Yeah.
But and the question is, what are men reading? Well, men are reading the classics, sci-fi and fantasy and horror and other cerebral stories. And the thing about the classics is that they never go out of style. They're classics. Everybody loves them. And that's with good reason. Like, how do I put it? Like, people ended up mentioning what stories would you want to have survive an apocalypse if you only had 10 to choose from? And invariably, almost everyone chose a classic, like 10 classic stories. And they had to be fiction stories. And like Lord of the Rings was mentioned, Brothers Karamazov. You had
Karamazov.
Yeah, you had Iliad, you had the Odyssey, you had the Proceda, the Ring of the Nibelungenlied. You had I'm actually proud that I was able to say it that fast. I've been practicing. You you had Yoshikawa Eiji's Musashi, I think, Genji Monogatari. You had the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. You had people who mentioned, I think, Journey to the West. At least I did. And everybody basically said these were good choices. You also had the Aeneid. You had Roland. And I didn't even mention a lot of these myself, but a lot of people did. And that's the thing. Like, people prefer like classic books for the most part, or classically written stuff. And they also, Bram Stoker's Dracula was mentioned, and there was a bunch of others. But see, the fact that people could say, what do you value most in terms of books? And it's all classics or like really great stuff. And the trouble is, what does the publishing, like, the purpose of the publishing industry is to pump out classics. It doesn't have any other purpose. And if it's not producing the new classics, or like, you know what I mean? Stories for that will someday be read in 100 years, then they're really not doing their job. They're, for lack of a better term, effing up. And the thing is, they know it. They know it. But it's, what's that saying from what was it? From the Soviet Union or something. You'd probably know it better than I do. We know they're lying. They know they're lying, and they're persisting with the lie. You know what I mean? But the only people who are shocked seems to be, sorry, but these really dumb women who, for some reason, are how do I put it, are shocked that people are basically saying, yeah, we can see you're not wearing clothes. Like the emperor that's not wearing any clothes. It's like, we can see that. C'est l'empereur sans linge. The nude emperor. It's like, we can see it. You can see it. Everyone knows it. But some of you don't realize it. Others do. And it's one of those things where it's like, how is it that indie fiction is beating the pants off trad pub? Because, like, okay, as much as Mark Twain, for example, was a great author and was a great self-published author, no indie publisher has actually, like, you know what I mean, been able to compete with trad for like 100 years in terms of industry strength. Not since Twain, I think. And yeah, here we are when trad can't even summon up the nerve or the muscle to resist. It's like, you've screwed up worse than anyone else ever could have. And you're not even hiding it. You're not even trying. Like, at least if they were trying, we'd be able to say, like, okay, you did put up
here's a cookie. Here's a cookie for trying.
Yeah, but no. It's yeah. I know I keep going on, but I'm like, yeah.
It's some authors who attempted to coax trad pub, like various trad pubs, to publish their books. Let's say 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They saw that they saw like the end
Coming.
It's I was one of them, because they had so many restrictions. Most of them were ideological. It's pretty much bullshit. That the only authors who could fit said restrictions were their own, let's say, underlings, so to speak. They could, of course. No one talks about. No one is complaining about writing standards and editor standards and chromatic standards. Like, this is an entirely different talk. We were talking about the contents of the story. We're not talking about the cosmetics of it, which, of course, it's super important. It's really important, but you can't edit or format a story that does not exist. You first have to have the story. And there is something else to be said about the, let's say, mathematics and different formula, which if you input the incorrect data, you'll get shit in the end. Like it doesn't matter how good are you at implementing said formula. If you implement the incorrect data, erroneous data, you will get shit in the end. And that's what they do. That's how they killed themselves, pretty much. They pumped out more like spewed, vomited out slop, because the input was slop, and then that's their own doing. And many have participated in this because they were given free, quote unquote, free money from certain groups. to do that. Although, if you ask some of their defenders, they will vehemently deny that. So no, that's a conspiracy, this and that.
Well, let's just call it
Yeah,
stories.
yeah. But yeah, and others were actually really, because they're idiots. They actually believe that censoring authors, mostly men, but also women, who are not ideologically aligned and civilizationally aligned with them, with their so-called globalist values, was the good thing, that they were on the right side of history, that they were creating a new future, and where this and that will happen, and
And the
yeah,
world will soon be theirs, blah, blah, blah.
no.
They're basically
So yes, I know people like to defend the well-meaning idiots, but they're still idiots. They still destroy everything.
yeah. Stupidity has no limits.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what I'm still
So
confused by
yeah,
is just the fact that there's also a petition by some to say, please do not use AI to write stories. But I'm pretty sure the publishing industry's already been doing that
oh yeah. And I want them to continue doing it.
because it'll
Please.
just create slop.
Yep. People, and I myself have been concerned about like the visibility of indie authors, because it's
Yeah, I've been concerned about that
yeah,
too.
it's a real problem. But think about this. If, let's say, you have a roughly polished diamond, let's say, yeah, and you place it in a pile of other roughly polished diamonds, you won't be able to um, see, you know what I mean. It's just a pile of roughly polished diamonds. But if you place this roughly polished diamonds and many others like it in a pile of poo, oh boy, you'll be able to see the diamonds.
Fair.
So yeah, they're actually creating a huge gray pile of refuse, and individual indie works will be much easier to spot in this pile. Though there is that other thing, which is a bit, it will always be a problem, is that the pile is way too big, and although the diamonds would be easier to spot, it's still going to take some time to look around. And that's the thing that a lot of and I've talked about this. I've asked my readers, and many of the older readers are like, well, it's like I don't have enough time to look for new books, but I want to read new books, but I don't have the time to look for them. And this could be just because of life, work, or something else that they don't have. And we're not talking about hours upon hours upon. No. we're talking about, let's say, like 20 to 30 minutes a day when you're sitting
on the toilet.
let's say, yeah, or somewhere, yeah, in the home. They, in many cases, they can't spare that time. But if they did, and some I've asked other indies back like a few years ago, and some have told me that a number of their new readers discover them just like that. Like they were, well, I have some time. I have like let's say 15 minutes. I'll just scroll. I'll just scroll Amazon for new books, and they found them. They just like that because they just looked, and it didn't take them like days or hours. Not even an hour. It take them like 20 minutes to find something new, and they found like 20 new books, 30 new books, 50 even. Like one of the authors said like he had 16 or 17 new readers who had piles to read in just 20 to 30 minutes of looking. Piles of indies.
Huh.
So yeah, it's on one hand, it's going to be easier to notice the works of indies in this like huge pile of refuse because they will shine. They will shine amongst the crap, the poo. On the other side, it will still require this thing called looking for. And that's inevitable. It's impossible to, because you can have like friends and family telling you about books or games or movies. That always happens. This it's like word of mouth, the best thing ever, but you can't always rely on it. And you can't also rely on ads because ads in most cases
Ads only, like ads seem to work on YouTube, I think, and on Royal Road, and that's almost it. But
I'm not sure about YouTube.
fair. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never tried them. When it comes to Royal Road, I can say without a second's hesitation, they do work only because I am trying them with 2 books I've put up there, or well, I'm running them as serials, and one of them overnight has yielded about like 5 new subscribers, and the other one over the past few weeks has yielded like, okay, actually 22 readers on the other one, and it's still going. So these work on some sites, but not all.
Yeah, not all. Yeah,
and you have to, and you also have to have a bit of a idea of how marketing works and what will make people click and whatnot. And you have to make sure it's as few clicks as possible.
Yeah, that's fair. What else can I say about that? Is the thing with the thing which all of these strat pubs have actively destroyed, and why they may have lost like the bulk of what was left of their readership, was that connection, that almost private connection, personal, more like personalized connection, more like from a position of humility, that sort of thing, because they see themselves as the one who does all, the king, the emperor, the queen, and the readers are the dirty peons who don't know anything, and they have to be told what to buy, and they have to buy it even if they don't like it, because they're dirty, they're stupid, they're just like peons shoveling shit. That's how they see us. And whoever author they want to sign a contract with, they're just like chained factory workers chained to their machine. That's pretty much like, yeah, it may be a bit too colorful a description, an allegory, but in the bulk of cases, this is true. And they will force you, if you are not careful and read what you sign, they may force you to change everything that you are writing. And it had happened. It's not like that I'm just imagining it.
Yeah. And the trouble is, they're going to keep shoveling slop. But we also got to bear in mind, even Twitter started to clue in. Twitter, which is even dumber than Reddit, because I will say this. I think Reddit at this point is smarter than Twitter. And I think even Twitter has started to clue in on the fact that AI doesn't really do any work. It's really just infinite Indians and others flooding into your country. The rich are just using the AI scare to, like they did the COVID scare. It's tearing wealth from some and reallocating it to others, while taking jobs from some and reallocating it to others. This is just what it is. And the thing is, the publishing industry is in the biggest collapse because you can't actually replace your readers. You need them for this industry. And the trouble is, they've alienated and they've sought to replace the readers they have in Europe, Asia, and North America. And for the most part, these are the primary places that read and that love literature, that love new books, that, you know what I mean? And they also need spare wealth. So you take the wealth from them, they will not buy books. They will not buy the state's propaganda. And, well, look at where we are now. But the trouble is also that you have a large number of people, as I've said on Twitter recently, who cannot, like a lot of people, even in the indie sphere, who cannot write. They just fundamentally are unable to write literature. I'm not talking fiction. I'm talking literature. And when I say literature, I'm talking about the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the Iliad, the Odyssey, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Parsifal, the Chanson de Roland, Les Trois Mousquetaires, Le Comte de Monte Cristo, like these foundational texts that have always defined civilization. Now, we can argue back and forth about literary fiction. Literary fiction is arguably not, how shall I put it, is not as good for the most part. There are exceptions. The Brothers book that I mentioned is, I really like that book. But the thing is, for the most part, it's always been the Iliad, like these high concept stories. You know what I mean? From the ancient and medieval period. These are the classics, and these are literature. And we need writers who can create literature, because literature weaves a spell around a culture and a civilization and allows it to believe in itself. You tear away the literature, you tear away the self-belief that allows it to go on. You're killing the very life that energizes it. You're tearing out the heart of the society and civilization, alongside the history. The history and literature are the beating heart of a people, of a tribe. You tear it out, there's nothing. So the trouble is, right now, you've got the beginning of a few books going around that have gone a little viral amongst the cancel pigs and whatnot. And the trouble is, most of it's not very good. The beginning, like, I will agree with the cancel pigs. They're not very good. It's not very good literature. But the thing is, it's better than what they could whip up. And on the other hand, just being a little better than the left is not good enough. And this is what the right is contented with. And there's also many on the right who are content with AI slob. So we have here two sides that are racing to the bottom of the barrel. And this isn't good. We need people who will stop aiming towards the barrel and aim towards the top. And I only see this really in the fiction corner of Substack, which is astonishing to me because Substack's supposed to just be stupid essays and journalism.
Mm-hmm.
But people are aiming higher. Like, and yeah, occasionally people will fight. The literary crowd are obsessed with trying to push their way in over on Substack, and the actual fiction writers have to push back and tell them, fuck off. We don't want your slop. We want actual literature and fiction. But even if you consider fiction like just the everyday story that you'll read about and then forget about in a year or 2 years, or you'll keep with you, but you won't pass down to your kids. These stories are so important. And the thing is, these stories are better on Substack than they are, let's say, on Twitter. And that's the thing. And the fact that this is the atmosphere in which, fiction and literature currently exist in is probably not good. But, like, the only reason I attack at the right is because it does need to be said. Because it's, to quote Richard III, now is the winter of our discontent. It is the winter of our discontent, and we are all a discontented people. And the best way to uplift people is through a good yarn. And there's not many good yarns or good writers of the same quality as what we once had. But we can bounce back.
There is also the problem that you have infiltrators who are pretending to be for the restoration of storytelling, but they're actually introducing subversive elements, and they keep producing their deconstructionism schlop. They're just covering it with a shroud so that people would not notice it easy.
And the trouble is that some people are writing what I'd argue is left-wing propaganda without even realizing it. It's liberal trash. And they're saying, well, I'm a conservative. Conservatism is liberalism. It is a branch of the humanistic faith, religion that is called liberalism. So when you say I'm a conservative, what you're saying is I am still a liberal. I am still a libtard, is what you're saying. Now, what you should say is you could say I'm an anti-liberal, or even better, you can try reading up on a different, I hesitate to use the term political ideology, but you can, and say I am that or that. or even I am apolitical. You are existing outside the liberal umbrella, the box. And even with apoliticalness, I actually respect that I'm going to be honest, in a lot of men and women. I am apolitical. I refuse to participate in this farce. Good. You refuse to be a clown. But the thing about it is, it's a three-ring circus, and one clown is liberal, and the one driving the clown car sometimes, because he has to drive it within the speed limit, is a conservative. Both sides are clowns. But I don't say this to be to alienate conservatives. I say this just to present the fact. You want liberalism, but under the speed limit. And the thing is, the sooner you realize that and you say, well, hold on, I don't actually want a lot of the ideas of liberalism, you can start to step out. And, like, there's nothing wrong with saying, well, I like some ideas of conservatism. I like some ideas of liberalism, but I also like these other ideas. That's fine. But, like, if you're going to be a liberal, be aware of it. If you are going to be a conservative, be aware of its root. It comes from Edmund Burke, who was a liberal, who was a libtard. So that's my only point, my little rant of the day. And we need fiction that goes to pre-modernity for inspiration and ideas, because, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff that will last through the ages. But anyways, enough about that. So, how about we have you pitch Frost and Blood? Now, I took a glance at the opening a little this past week, mostly because of that LARPer who showed up over on Substack. I think you or someone else posted Blood and Frost. It's just that became a whole fight in that corner or something. I don't know. And
Why?
I don't know. Well, apparently, I think it's like Conan or Crom or something. He disrespected one of the girls, and then you had the other girl, Catherine Elaine, getting upset. I pointed out to her, this guy's a LARPer. Like, the thing about LARPers is sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're not. But this guy, But Blood and Frost, I took a glance at it, and I didn't realize Frost was actually a character. So tell me about Frost.
Well, this is one of the forces of nature, which you can try to compare it to our winter, but it's much more primal and legendary and mythical, and also magical, because what's mystic and ancient without magic? And in this case, Frost is this ever present in your thoughts. Like, it's you whatever you do during the warmer period, before frost finally comes, it's almost always you will think, should I buy these new boots, or should I not save some money for fuel or extra food, because frost will come, and frost always comes, and frost always kills. But even those who are prepared, frost still finds a way to kill them. And there are, how should I put it? There are researchers, well, they call them sages, in this city, this giant city. They call them sages, and some of them theorize that the world was not always like this. They had more than 2 seasons. It wasn't just warmth and frost. It was they had summer, they had autumn, but something happened, and there is there is a school, there was at least a school of sages who theorized that the ancient civilization, the ancient orc civilization there, the high orcs, they did something. They were engaged in some, let's say, unethical magical experiments. And yeah, without spoiling anything, that's all I'm going to say. But the reality of Frost is such that if you assume that some sort of magical protection will help you against it, uh, you are fooling yourself. Even the mightiest of wizards and sorcerers would not dare stroll around during the fall of the frost. Maybe later, when the torrent of blue snow had passed. And even the fact that they can even survive in homes is thanks to the giant city walls, which are ancient, built by an ancient imperium, which pretty much built a civilization in these parts of that world. No, it's no longer there. Some of its legions are still there, deep underground in the leftover parts of the city, which had since sunk during the ages, and people had built over them, and then other parts had sunk, and then people built over them, and then again and again and again and again and again. So yes, indeed, Frost is very much a character.
Okay. Interesting.
I imagine you saying, okay, you were just like sitting, reaching for your coat, for your overcoat, and then you said, okay.
Something like that. And my coffee.
Something
So
warm.
yeah. Any questions from you?
Ooh,
Oh no.
I could ask you something about that essay you wrote about Star Wars. They can't quite put my finger on it.
Which one?
I had something. I will remember that. I may have thought of writing it down, but I probably forgot. But
You
there
mean
was,
Daniel's retrospective?
Yes.
I didn't write that. That was Daniel.
I'm sorry.
No,
But,
don't apologize.
I was, I think, once I asked you about your favorite battle in Star Wars, like the space battle. What about your favorite Jedi duel?
Vader versus Obi-Wan. Because it's just none of them ever have the same energy or the vitality or the high octane energy. Well, I already said that 3 times. Or the intelligence, emotion, spirituality, and whatnot, and physicality of the Mustafar duel. Because, it's one of those things which George wanted to actually improve, make some alterations, and otherwise speed things up a little with the originals, but he can't do that. You can't have a good original trilogy. Oh my gosh, that'd be terrible. Terrible, really. And yeah, I'm going to trash talk some of the original trilogy
Yes.
fans because
You give
come
up.
on,
I have.
grow up. Like
Uh,
the duels are not as good, to put it bluntly. And it's not just about physical visuals and whatnot. It is also about the energy and the beginning and end of the duel. Like why are the characters dueling? In At a few points in episode, like you look at the cave thing. Why the hell is Luke dueling with a shadow? I don't know. It's never explained. We don't need to know.
or maybe it was cut. Because
Well,
they
the reason's in the book, but in the movie it doesn't explain. And you then have, on top of that, with the movies, the plot is too simple for my taste, and too many scenes that involve plot and narrative were cut. Actually, the story of how the trilogy ended up with everything on the cutting room floor rather than on screen is far more interesting to me than the actual original trilogy. Well, at least with the prequels, most of the scenes ended up on screen, so you can see the story, not have to look it up in the books or in the comics or video games or something.
Yeah, which is
So
lame.
yeah, because the fact is, when I go to look up episode 4, I have to read the novel. I also have to play the Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 game. And I also have to look up the Kyle Katarn comics. I have to look up whatever Han Solo novels take place around there. I have to, for episode 5, look up the background comics, the background games like Shadow of the Empire. Same with episode 6. I have to look up all this background stuff like Dark Force 2 as its follow-up story, along with Jedi Outcast and Jedi Knight. I have to look up everything, and it's just so tiring. While at least with the prequels, you look up episode 1. You could do that, or you could just watch episode 1. You could read the book version of episode 2. It's far better than the movie, but the story explains itself. And this is what I think the Spaceballs joke was, where everybody got that, where Dark Helmet turns to the camera. And I'm like, the thing is, I wanted a scene like that in episode 4, 5, and 6. I wanted more scenes where they turn to the camera and say, did you get that? Because I'm left confused most of the time and wondering, okay, you're just jogging to the end and you're not taking your time to tell me the story. Whereas episode 1, 2, and 3 tells me the story. We have politics. We've got tragedy.
They forget. Oftentimes they forget that even though that it is a visual medium, just like the games, especially even more so, movies are primarily a visual medium. But mother truckers, you need a few minutes in your movie, just like 2 minutes, maybe even less, maybe 1 minute and some seconds to tell stuff.
And here's the thing,
tell them. That's a lost art. They don't know how to do it.
Yeah, and linked to this is the world building. Now, I don't just want
world building. What is this?
It's just this? With episode 4, we got a sufficient amount. We got the bare minimum, in my opinion, but we got some. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 were seeping with world building. There was so much world building details. I love it. But then when I get to episode 5 and 6, I'm left going, yeah, you can show me things, but I want you to also, like, what are the politics of the rebellion? What is the who the hell is Mon Mothma?
You mean the filthy terrorist scum?
Yeah. Well, also, what about the politics of the Empire? What about the internal command structure of the rebellion? What about where are the Jedi? Like, overall, I know they're all supposed to be massacred, but you don't, like, cutting out the prequels. You're left going, so it's just Ben and Yoda, but how did the Jedi function? What's the philosophy? What's the where do they get the lightsaber crystals from? Where do they get the lightsabers from? Where do they get the parts from? Where did Luke get the parts for his lightsaber in episode 6? There's no explanation. He just suddenly has a green one. Why? I don't know. He just has one. Just roll with it. It's like when you get stuff like what is the metal used to make the Death Star? I don't know. You just have to assume it's metal. Well, it's the prequels that introduced the concept of Durasteel. And this is also in the original trilogy novels. How does the Force really work? Like as a metaphysical field? I don't know. But the episode 4 novel explains it. And how does like the Force work? This is actually something the prequels bring in to the lore. As
I didn't like I didn't like the midichlorians though.
The midichlorians is from episode 4. I like it only because when you read the episode 4 novel, you understand midichlorians is actually an original trilogy concept. The prequels did not make anything new with that. They just simply continue. They just used the episode 4 lore. But the other thing is like the speeder bikes, the land speeders. How are they built? Who designed them? And like I want to know about the world. And the thing is,
what was the? I think it was like mag. But technology was it?
Yeah. Well, there's also the hyperdrive. Like,
yes.
Why is it defective in the Falcon? I don't know. But then it's explained in another novel that not in the episode 5 novel, but another novel that explains. Oh yeah, Han had a. Oh yeah, the episode 5 novel does reference it. Now that I think about it, it does reference. Well, Han had a run-in with Boba, and that caused and the Millennium Falcon was damaged there. Well, I'd have liked to know that in the movie. See, I want the movies to stand on their own, and I don't want to have to read the book or like 3 other books to know what the hell's going on.
The thing is that in this type of extreme visual storytelling, of course, they can leave certain details a mystery to entice the viewer as imagination. That's fine, but not everything. It becomes frustrating. It changes the enticement into frustration, and in all actuality, they don't need to invest billions in extra runtime because the fucking movie runtime is expensive as fuck. They don't have to do it. They need seconds, like some they need to use both showing and telling to give the viewer this thing. And for that, they would need only seconds. They don't need much. It's not that. It's just.
The trouble is George Lucas did not direct episode 5 and 6, and the problems show. And there are problems with the movies. I know a lot of people don't want to see the problems, but these are the 2 most plot hole ridden, problematic movies of Star Wars. They don't feel like the other 4, and the only scenes that really feel like George Lucas, I would say, would be I would argue the scenes with Luke and Vader at the end of episode 6, and maybe the Han and Leia scene at the end, where Leia reveals Luke's her brother to Han. These are the only scenes where I'm like, oh yeah, that's George. The rest, I'm like, who the hell shot this? I have no clue what you're doing. And when you actually look up the interviews with the episode 5 director and even the episode 6 director, well, each interview has the director saying, I have no idea what I was doing. I have no idea about this universe. I don't know what the hell I'm dealing with and whatnot. Like, they know how to direct, but they don't know like the actual story. They're like, I just simply got a script. Occasionally it would change, and I'd have to run with it. And then, of course,
I have a list. I have a checklist, and I have to do this, and then do this, and then this, and this,
but
and
the
this.
Episode 5 director even complained at one point. Well, I decided I'd make some changes to the script, and there we have a problem. You know why? I decided I'd make some changes because some things just did not seem to make sense to me. Oh no. So you have essentially, he was a university professor, I believe, who had directed movies, but he's past his prime. It's like a worn out boxer. It's like if Mick in the Rocky movie said, "Now hold on, Rocky. You're not boxing right. I'm going to box Apollo instead of you and show you how it's done." Well, he's going to end up with his face all over the mat, and you're going to be left going, why the hell did he nudge aside the young 30-year-old boxer to fight the other, like the 34-year-old boxer? Like, who is this old man? And it's like, well, I'll just change the fight. It's me instead. Well, Mick's going to get beaten up. That's what I find with episode 5. It's like, no, you don't make those changes. Of course, George came in and at the last minute revealed the whole "I am your father, Luke" thing, which that was George who made that decision. That's why that scene feels like it's George Lucas, and the rest of it doesn't. It's because it's such a weird, chaotic mess. It's movie by committee, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a movie by checklist.
But this is where I'll actually boast a little about my stories. They're not by committee. Dan and I, of course,
boast me. I'll boast myself.
Yeah, I gotta. But the thing is, can I write as good as George Lucas? I don't know. George is a phenomenal writer. Contrary to what people think, he's a genius. No, he designed.
He's not just some old hippie.
Yeah, he designed worlds. Like, you look at Naboo, he personally oversaw the creation of Naboo, Tatooine, Bespin, Yavin, like some of the, even Coruscant, Korriban. These ideas, like these worlds are rich and vibrant and whatnot. He is a master world builder. He is the Tolkien of sci-fi. Am I that good? I don't know. So, but on the other hand, on a plot level, am I as good? I don't know. I don't think so. But the thing is, I will say that his imitators, I think I'm probably better than. And the thing about this is that you need to only look at Crown of Blood to see that's basically a world building book. It's not that it's steeped in world building, it's that it's background lore. It's a story, it's a series of stories about the background of Caledonia for, it's a background book to Brotherhood of the Gemstone, which is getting quite a bit of praise on Railroad and Substack right now. And the reason is quite simple, is that I put a lot of emphasis on world building, old style prose, and also on the plot. Now, the plot meanders in a Tolkienian fashion before getting on the road. And the reason I had the meandering is to build up my characters and the local culture and the local flora and fauna and whatnot. Why?
And the elves.
Yeah. But when you look at what I've been doing lately, I would say what I'm using to attract some new fans is my microfiction. And these are little character blurbs. Well, not blurbs, but like a single scene.
Yeah, they're blurbs. They're blurbs.
Yeah. The only reason I'm using the microfiction is that I am trying to weave together different scenes. I get to write like a scene at the beginning and a scene at the middle of a book or of a short story. I write different scenes, and then it'll be easier to connect the dots between them. And the thing is, I did one for Raedwald, a character of mine who is called the Usurper King of Britia, which would probably make a good title for a book. But now that I think about it, but there's the
Usurper.
But the story of Valralton, the Elvish Knight, I've got him and Orin, the Wolf Knight. Like I've got those two short stories. I've got a Zapungu short set of microfiction tales, and about Notaro.
When do you post them? I've seen one because you tagged me.
Oh, I think I tagged you with what, the Japanese one?
Yeah, the Japanese one. But is there like a specific day on Substack when you post them?
I'm doing it every day now.
Okay.
Here, I'll go tag you. I'll
You'll
go tag you
see.
with the.
You'll see. I'll start posting them too.
But the thing is, this is good for marketing, and it is also good for little bits of world building. Here, I'll tag you. There. Actually, let me tag. Let me see if I can tag others.
It's also quite interesting the fact that you in Crown of Blood you began with the world building and establishing of characters, and this is pretty much the concept of my intro book for the Star Shattered series. Yeah, you remember we may have talked about it. I don't remember, but it's basically the background of all main characters before they met and formed the crew of IMS Star Shattered, which is IMS Star Shattered is stands for Imperial Minarchy Ship, and this is because this transponder code for the ship's name is seen by all types of aliens, and not all of them have to know that the Terran state, quote unquote, is not actually an empire. It has an emperor and an empress, but they serve different functions. It's actually a monarchy. They are self-ruling, and the emperor and the empress, they have like extensive diplomatic and intelligence functions. They are carrying enough on their backs, on their shoulders. But yes, this is at some places when I was reading that book of yours, Crown of Blood, I had goosebumps because I've of course I could not have written it as good as your book, because back then I was quite unskilled. Even though I had all the drafts and everything, I had to learn how to write in English and translate some of the drafts and then fix my own mistakes. And I had pretty much no network of readers to help me with proofreading, and I had no money for editors and everything. So I was it's a much less polished work back then. It's gotten to a more polished, quite more polished state now. But yes, it is a collection of their backstories. I've had in the very beginning, I had people who would not understand this. They were aghast. Some of them, like a few critics, were aghast that this is unorthodox structure for a book. Why are you presenting us with the backstories of the characters? Why it's not like a real book? One of them even said it's not a real book because you should have presented everything in a different way. But since the scope of this series, this is a decalogy. It's just a 10-book series. If I have done this the other way around, I would have had like most of the books would have been over 1,000 pages. So no, and since I am committed to introducing the villains' point of view and their establishing the backstories of their characters, I can't do it in a different way. I could have done it, but it wouldn't have been the beast that is now, the armored beast, armed with high-powered lasers and automatic railguns and cladded megasteel and armed with whatever gigantic vibroblade said beast could wield. So that's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have to go soon, so we'll we'll just say, don't forget to subscribe to the Black Knight.
Yes,
And
don't forget to subscribe to the Brother Screen and
Thank
buy
you.
the book. Buy the book.
All the bucks.
Yes.
And that'll be it for today, I guess. So until next time, like and subscribe as well, and toodaloo.